know you would like to some kind of way extract something out of this bottle, all right, that's not there. It's not there. You all speculate and create things, and then you want people to respond to it. So you can ask the bottle, but don't ask me.
Mitch, I just want to give a special round of applause. Just got to give it up to the Florida Athletic Department for saving the Sharks. Yep, all the shark population is now safe around the Florida coast because Jim McElwain is no longer the head coach of the Florida Gators.
Yeah, that was he's had a rough couple of weeks.
Yeah, he just kind of looks like a guy who knew what was coming the past couple of weeks, and the hammer finally dropped. And yeah, so Randy Shannon is now the interim head coach down there in Florida. And if you would have told me that he was going to be the first SEC coach to go, I wouldn't have believed you.
No doubt. Yeah, I feel like it was sort of this like perfect storm that kind of came together all of a sudden that I guess we didn't really account for. I mean, there's definitely been worse just coaching, but the controversy, the very strange season that they've had, the suspensions, then the death threat thing, I think that got the wheels going really fast.
Yeah, can we
press conference?
Just a quick public service announcement. Can we stop threatening to kill coaches? That would be
what's up with that?
That would be really cool, guys. Let's just, as people, just quit doing that, okay? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he won the East the past 2 years.
Yeah,
and now he's fired mid-season.
Yeah, it's so, like at mid-season, I think we expected a mid-season fire before him.
Yeah.
But I think just the combo of that whole another issue for them off the field, and then to just come into the biggest game of the year every year and just get absolutely demolished. I guess as an administration, you're like, well, we got to do something. It just kind of seemed like in the press conference, he was like, "Thank you guys, it's been fun. Thanks for the opportunity. This is a huge bummer, but." See ya.
Well, and I mean, given all the coaches in the conference that are still waiting to be just kind of pushed out the door, this is only the first shoe to drop. This coaching carousel is looking thick, and that's thick with 2 C's.
Yeah, he kicked it off hard.
Yeah,
it's about to go down.
You are listening to Ask the Bottle. Write to us at askthebottlecast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Bottlecast. Go ahead and tweet at us all your predictions and all that kind of junk. Tell us that we're terrible. Tell us that we're awesome. Tell us anything at all. Listen and subscribe to us on iTunes and SoundCloud. You already know what I'm about to say. Go on there and leave us a rating. That would be real, real cool.
Maybe we should do like a giveaway for our first rating. Like our first, whoever leaves the first one gets a prize.
Yeah, leave us, or whoever leaves the one that finally we get enough ratings to give us a little star rating on iTunes. That would be awesome. I don't know the actual number. I think it might be 10 ratings that you have to have, but yeah. Anyways,
first
that
one
would be
to do it gets a home cooked meal.
Gets a personal visit from the boys. That sounded weird. All right. So who are you, just off the cuff right now, who are your 4 playoff teams right now, Mitch?
Ooh.
Before we fly through the out of conference games, just who are your top 4 right now?
If I'm being honest with you, I like where we've settled as far as the rankings go. Alabama's a no-brainer. I think that Ohio State game messed me up, man. That Ohio State came to play. Barrett looks so good. Urban Meyer, I got to keep them in the picture. I think Georgia's in the driver's seat. I think that the SEC championship is a huge hurdle for them. So I'm going to go Alabama. I could see Ohio State sticking it out. But as far as the rest of the top 10 goes, I mean, Miami's undefeated, Wisconsin undefeated, and that's it, unless you're talking about Central Florida. So I'm going to go Bama, Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Ohio State. I'm keeping everybody in there. I like where they're at right now.
Okay, I agree with you on a lot of that. I would actually put, and this is weird, but it makes sense in my brain. I would actually put, you're going to hate this, I would put Georgia number 1.
Really?
It's the Notre Dame win.
Yeah. Notre Dame has been straight up dominant ever since that game.
So
I could see that.
My top straight up right now, my top 4 in the country right now, I got Georgia number 1. I'm going to put Ohio State at number 2 just because of the way that they pulled it together in that game, which we'll talk about here in a second. I'm going to put Alabama at number 3. I'm going to put Notre Dame at number 4.
Really?
Notre Dame looks good. They have done nothing to me. The Georgia loss is the only thing that they've done to me so far to say that they do not have what it takes to hang in the playoffs this year. And be that as it may, I mean, I know that might upset you a little bit, but...
No, it definitely doesn't. I mean, I obviously, I don't... Georgia at number 1 it's more... It's just frightening, you know. I mean, Bama, they can just lock number 1, and then everybody else is an underdog. So you're telling me that Georgia and Alabama play today, you think Georgia wins? That's basically what you're telling me.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you right now. I think Georgia pulls that win off. From what I've seen, I mean, dude, from what I've seen, look, I know you're going to talk about it later. I just want to drop this stat line real quick because I know it was against Florida. Jake Fromm threw the ball 7 times.
7. Oh my gosh, no, I know. 7
and
times.
And they won the game by 35 points.
You know how many passes Eason threw last year? Like 33 or something like that.
Yeah. And I know we're going to go more in depth on that later, but that speaks just volumes to me. But anyways, so yeah, moving forward into, I just wanted to ask you super quick, but moving forward into the out-of-conference games, we're going to fly through these real quick. Let's go ahead and start, since we've been talking about it, with that Penn State-Ohio State game. Number 2, Penn State did everything they could to win this game, and Ohio State did everything they could to lose it, but Ohio State ended up coming away with the win, 39-38. Urban Meyer kind of pulls a fast one on James Franklin. The Buckeyes complete a last-second touchdown pass from J.T. Barrett, the Ralph Webb of the Big Ten, to win over a blazing hot Penn State in the Horseshoe.
You know, this game, it's interesting to me because, like you said, Ohio State, I mean, they made plenty of mistakes, but Barrett just turned it on, man. He just flipped a switch, and it was like, it was one of those, it was kind of like the Pats-Falcons games. It was like you knew it was over, but it wasn't over yet. It's like, I know how this is going to end. He's just going to, the momentum is too much. You know, Saquon can only do so much. I mean, it felt over to me. I was like, Ohio State's going to win this game. I don't know if it's because they're at home or not, but I was like, this is going to happen. It's done already.
Well, moving right along to the Big 12, to the very cannibalistic Big 12. They love to just keep themselves out of the playoffs, I swear. Kenny Trill and the Horned Frogs roll into Ames, Iowa, and lose to the red-hot Iowa State Cyclones, 14-7. TCU's only touchdown coming off a kick return by Devontae Turpin. Future Arkansas head coach Matt Campbell.
I love that.
And the Cyclones are going to move into number 14 on the AP poll after taking down TCU. Iowa State is no longer a sleeper team. They're just flat out good right now.
No kidding, man. I mean, and I've been talking about how much I like TCU all year, and they were in the playoff picture. They were firmly in it, number 4, and just, like you said, sniped right out of it. Now they're number 10.
Well, let's talk about how terrible Louisville and Florida State are. Yeah, Louisville loses to Wake Forest 42-32.
And it was a bigger margin than that. I mean,
it was a couple of late touchdowns by the Cardinal in that one.
Wake Forest dominated this game.
Yes. And then up in Boston, Florida State just drops a deuce in their game against Boston College. I don't know, man. Florida, the bottom fell out of this Florida State team. I don't even know what to say.
They're done, man.
It's just this is the worst Florida State team I've seen in my lifetime.
Like you said, after this weekend, Mark Richt has a stranglehold on Florida recruiting.
Yeah, God, yeah. That he was just gifted the state of Florida.
Yeah,
this weekend.
They were like, "Hey, why don't you move south and you just inherit the world, pretty much."
Okay, the Michigan State Spartans, the number 16 Michigan State Spartans, drop one to Northwestern, 39-31. They're going to fall all the way to number 24 on the AP poll after losing in Chicago. That's just another one of those weird upsets, This season's coming down to the wire here, and they're going to keep happening, and Mark D'Antonio just dropped one.
Yeah, he did. It was one of those where you're surprised, but you're not surprised. You know what I mean? Like, you think, well, surely he's going to go in there and coach them to a win, but it just didn't happen. And Northwestern, I mean, props to them. It's a huge win.
Yeah, and Michigan State's kind of been playing on the line a little bit. They were bound to lose another one. And then let's kind of finish it out here with some AAC action. Charlie Strong's USF Bulls drop one to Major Applewhite and the Houston Cougars. They fall 28-24 to Houston, and they're going to fall all the way out of the top 25.
Charlie Strong, man.
You were doing great things, but you lose to unranked Houston, and you're number 17, and you're a G5 team.
I thought it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I thought he had found his spot. And, it's just a loss, but, like, dude, come on.
Yeah, it was a bad loss. But it was a wild finish to the game, though. I think Houston scored with, 12 seconds left to go up, so good win for them.
Houston's a good team.
They are a good team.
Major Applewhite, a good player.
All right, well, let's move on into the Southeastern Conference, what we all want to hear about. You want to go ahead and start us off, or you want me to take it this week?
First of all, I just said Major Applewhite is a good player. I meant a good coach.
He was probably a good player at one point.
Back in the day, I might just look it up just for the heck of it. He played at Texas. That's kind of hilarious.
Oh, well, there you go.
So, Charlie Strong can't shake that Longhorn destiny.
Maybe Major Applewhite can be the next coach at Texas when Tom Herman ultimately can't get it done either.
That'd be really funny. I can actually see that. Let's keep an eye on that.
Dude, as long as Texas boosters are Texas boosters, no one's gonna have success at that school.
Yeah, that is very fair.
All right, well, let's hit up the SEC.
All right, where you want to start? You want to go? You want me to go?
It's up to you, my man.
Ooh, well, I don't know if I want to start with this is something we should put in the polls. We should put in a little poll, like which game you guys want us to highlight, which one you guys want to start out with. Maybe some people on Twitter will reach out about that. All right, I'm going to give you two choices. You want me to start with the Kentucky game or the South Carolina game? Because they're both super similar, both similar implications for each team.
Well, we talked about Jim McElwain for a little bit, so let's talk some more about Butch Jones.
All right. Butch Jones and McElwain, while they've had very different careers, they're looking like they're in a pretty similar spot right now.
Yeah, Tennessee and Florida should just switch coaches.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
That's the answer.
Totally. Send complete coaching incompetence and get back massive amounts of controversy. It's like two negatives make a positive.
Exactly.
Well, the good news for Tennessee is that they're able to score a touchdown in this game after 15 scoreless quarters.
Yeah,
the Vols
congratulations.
got on the board.
Congratulations, Vols.
The last time they scored, they were playing UMass. That feels like forever
Yeah,
ago.
that was that game Chris Berman was on the sideline. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, seriously. The bad news is before this game, John Kelly arrested for possession of marijuana and did not take the field. Ty Chandler, though, filling in pretty admirably, but still, big speed bump for the star running back.
I don't blame Kelly. Honestly, at the end of the day, because expectations on him were so high.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry for those two listeners that were just like, all right, I'm out of here.
Who just took the headphones off and were like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
But really that sucks for him. I mean, that's a stupid thing to do. Your team is already in a rough spot. I agree they are leaning on him pretty heavily, but come on, I did think it was funny that, he leaves and then Ty Chandler gets like 20 carries, and did pretty well. Tennessee in this game was a great game. It was a really hard-fought game for both teams. Tennessee, really efficient. Like I said, Ty filled in admirably for Kelly. He had 120 yards on 2 carries, 2 scores. Gorentano, 78% completion percentage in this game. Where did that come from?
That's his highest of the year, actually, I think.
Just 250 yards almost on the day, a little shy of that. But, I mean, he continued to get beat up. He took 7 sacks in this game. The big thing that I'm going to be talking about throughout this entire analysis of this game is how in the world Tennessee couldn't take advantage of Kentucky's turnovers. I mean, I'm sorry. You recover 4 fumbles, and you don't turn the ball over once against a team that already has a great turnover ratio, like Kentucky, and you still don't win, and you don't get a single touchdown off of any of those 4 fumbles. I was going to wait and talk about that later, but that's just ridiculous.
That's just play calling, my guy.
Yeah, but it's like, come on. I mean, it's like Benny Snell fumbles on the first play, and they're basically in the red zone, and they just can't get it done. And on a day where Gorentano actually plays well and the running game is good, it's like, that is unbelievable.
Yeah, all signs paper-wise lead to, I mean, they just point to Tennessee winning this game. It's just Butch Jones snatching defeat out of the jaws of victory.
It's like he turned in the term paper, but he plagiarized. So they're like, oh no, not so fast.
Not so fast, my friend.
You are getting an F. It was a game that shouldn't have been as close as it was, given just how many mistakes Kentucky made. But like I said, UT gave up a lot of sacks. Big props to Steven Johnson in this game for just coming in and finishing it. I mean, he got a little shaken up with a shoulder injury after a pretty long run in the third quarter. Came back just all grit, all gut on his part. Stats didn't look pretty. He was 6 for 15 for just 46 yards passing, but he grabbed 84 on the ground and scored what would be the game-winning touchdown after just leaping into the end zone and getting drilled and falling on his shoulder with like 30 seconds left in the game. Threw a 2-point gutsy toss to Benny Snell, who just had a monster game. I say Ty Chandler did well, but it was like just, Kentucky made a lot of mistakes in this game, but they were just able to outmatch Tennessee where it counted. I say Ty Chandler had a good game, but Benny Snell has 180 yards and 3 scores. Just gets that 2-point conversion. That Hail Mary at the end from Gorentano to Jeff George just says it all. I mean, it just made me sad.
That is just a moniker for Tennessee's season. It's just like,
seriously,
Hail Mary stopped on the 3-yard line. It's just like,
right?
Oh man,
it was like what happened so many times in the game. They made the plays downfield, but they just couldn't punch it in. They just couldn't score. I mean, we had the rushing touchdowns from Chandler, but dude, that you're right. That says it. Absolutely says it all. They were able to get 3 field goals out of the 4 fumbles, missed one of the field goals, but points are good, whatever, but you got to have more momentum than that. You got to capitalize. I mean, Butch said it himself. All in all, it's a gritty, close game between a program that's trying to stay alive in Kentucky in the East and has talent, and clearly, when they show up, can deliver and beat teams and finish. And then another team that just, I don't know if Tennessee's waiting for the season to end or if they're just trying to get one SEC win. They're still winless in the conference. What do you think at this point? The big question for me at this point is Butch a midseason fire, or is he going to make it?
He's going to make it, man.
I agree.
Look, dude, at this point, if he's still there, they're not. Look, Tennessee's going to take their time. It seems like to me they're actually doing it right. I know a lot of fans are just like, get him out of there. But like, look, they're taking their time. They're like, let's just hang on to him till that buyout drops a little bit. Let's just give him a peaceful exit. Let's find the right guy and let's win some games.
Absolutely. And being, the coaching search is already everyone's very aware of it. I've seen that they're bringing in Philip Fulmer to aid with the process. And I agree with you. I think they just need to let it go. You're not going to get any worse.
Yeah, you're not really achieving anything.
Yeah.
by doing that.
Just see who you can get. And you're right. Guide the process the right way. Well, Kentucky plays Ole Miss next week at home, and I expect them to win that one. This Kentucky team has been hard to trust this year thus far, but I think Mississippi State is just a great team, and I think that they just flat out beat them. I think Kentucky still has plenty of games to win rest of the season. I think they beat Ole Miss. I think it's going to be a close one, 20-17 at home.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I also think Kentucky wins that game. I think it's a lot higher scoring. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but I just real quick before we move on, I got to talk about how awesome Steven Johnson has been all season long.
Yeah, man, team. Right?
Dude, this guy has been super quiet his entire career, and nobody really pays a lot of attention to him because he plays for Kentucky, which I get it. But man, this guy is playing like a real senior. Like, he is a leader of this team. Like, he took him on that game-winning drive at the end of the game against Tennessee. He's just like being a senior when seniors are needed for a team, and just like got to give a shout out to the unsung hero of that team. Like, totally.
Oh, absolutely. I should have highlighted it more in my Mississippi State Kentucky recap, but I mean, yeah, whether win or lose, good or bad, I mean, he is putting it all out there. Like I said, he went to the locker room, and I was reading he was talking about it, and he was like, I knew I was coming back. I just had to get him to check it out to make sure nothing crazy happened. And he was like, I was going to go back either way. I was just like, dang, dude. All right. And awesome. that leap into the end zone, I was like, okay, you get, when there's that much heart, that's the only thing that's going to overcome that many turnovers. It's just them playing hard. And I agree with you that I think they play very much for him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
The Vols, on the other hand, head home to face a Southern Miss team that only lost to Kentucky by a score in Week 1. And at this point, I don't think that the Vols have a guaranteed win rest of the season. I'm calling the Vols 21-14 at home next week. And I think the only chance Butch has at leaving midseason is if they drop this game. But even then, I think I completely agree. I think that they're doing the right thing where they're at and keeping him until the end of the year. But it's clear he's gone, just a matter of when. Anyway, you want to move it back to the West?
Sure, we can move back to the West, or I guess to the West for the first game. And before I get into this game, I just got to do something real quick. Okay?
Yeah, man.
Sorry. Woo, pig! Hell yeah, baby! Suck it, Ole Miss. All right, I'm back. Okay. If you guys didn't hear, Arkansas won the game against Ole Miss. They beat them 38-37 in Oxford. I got to eat a little bit of crow. I've said for a long time on this show that Brett Bielema hasn't brought us anything good while he's been at Arkansas. I was wrong. I don't know how I hadn't said it before, but this is 4 wins in a row against Ole Miss for Arkansas, and 3 of the years we've beat them when they were ranked and way better than us. In 2014, they were ranked number 8, and we were unranked. In 2015, they were like 18 or 17, and we were unranked. Last year, we were both ranked, but I think they were ranked maybe a couple points higher than us. This year is obviously not the case, but that's 4 straight wins against the same conference team. And I can't. I mean, look, I got to give credit where it's due, man. It's awesome. It's totally awesome. And I don't know what it is about this Ole Miss team that Arkansas can be like as bad as possible, and Ole Miss still finds a way to lose to Arkansas. I don't know why that is. I don't know what black magic it is, but it keeps happening, and boy, is it just awesome. Let's get into this game. Nothing changes, by the way, about my opinion of Brett Bielema. I still don't think he should be the coach. This win is great, and I think that all Arkansas fans should enjoy it and revel in it. But I don't think it changes anything. I still think he's the wrong guy. I still think it's lackluster coaching. But it was a great win. In this game, Arkansas came out looking like we all expected, terrible.
Yeah, that first half was not
awe-inspiring. Good. In the first half, the Rebels were unstoppable, Mitch. They went up 31-7 after a quick score on their first drive, and they seemed to have everything totally under control. I was like, man, I can't watch this whole game. Like, I was just like, I can't do it to myself again this week. In the second half, though, Arkansas came out and actually played good football. They did it in the second half of a game.
Unbelievable.
They outscored the Rebels 17-6 in the second half and came away with the win on a last-second field goal. Of all the ways for Arkansas to win a game, a last-second field goal?
Dude, Limper was confident. He made it like 4 times.
Yeah. Matt Luke tried to ice him 3 times, and he used all 3 of his timeouts. And he nailed it all 4 times.
Yeah, he just kept doing it, and he was like, do it again, I don't care.
Yeah, I was just over the moon about it, man. I couldn't believe it. I saw the Hogs do something in this game I hadn't seen them do all year. They scored on their first possessions of each half. They came out in the first half and scored on their first possession. They came out in the second half and scored on their first possession. They came out, like, ready to play, which I haven't seen. So that was refreshing, to say the least. It was just good to see them look like they wanted to play. Like they hadn't looked like they wanted to be there all season. And so that was just really refreshing. The Ole Miss passing game was still able to tear Arkansas up in the passing game. 368 yards in the air. DK Metcalf had 4 catches for 107 yards. Jordan Ta'amu also shredded the Arkansas defense on the ground. He ran for 76 yards and scored a long touchdown.
I mean, for Ole Miss' sake, I want to say, like, dude, I didn't expect that from him.
No, he looked totally confident.
After Shea and everything that happened with him, I was like, man, he looks good.
He looks
so
totally
he passed
confident.
the eye test for me, yeah.
On the other side, the Arkansas run game finally showed up to play also. 260 yards on the ground for Arkansas. TJ Hammonds, a back we have yet to see this year due to the Hayden injury, had 11 carries for 84 yards. That's 7.5 yards a carry. Can't fault that.
Take it.
But at the end of the day, Ole Miss just got comfortable in this game and they took their foot off the gas. And Arkansas usually isn't able to come back in games like this, but for some reason, like I said, Ole Miss just can't figure out how to beat the Hogs. A few lucky breaks for Arkansas. They got a big 4th down play or pass interference call to convert and keep the drive alive. But it was a great game. Next week, Ole Miss plays Kentucky in Lexington, like you just talked about. Kentucky's coming off a big win against Tennessee, and they have all the momentum in the world. And I agree with you; they're going to beat Ole Miss. But my score is 45-42.
Ooh,
I want to see
shootout.
I want to see some points, man.
Kentucky is capable of points, and now that I like yours better. You're right. I still wasn't given Tamu the benefit of the doubt, but I think that could happen. I think, especially, I think that's very possible.
I think that what's going to happen is Kentucky's going to have to outscore them. They're going to get in a shootout situation, and they're going to be like, well, the only way we can score this game is to score points. And I think Steven Johnson's going to step up and make it happen.
I think that you're right. Well, and I mean, we've talked about Ole Miss's defense, so I could really see that happening.
Arkansas heads back to Fayetteville next week to play Coastal Carolina, which, thank God, finally. I feel like I've just been looking forward to this Coastal Carolina game. Like, it's like, oh man, that's our next win. Lo and behold, we got this one. But this should be win number 4 for the Hogs. It should be, like, hopefully. I know it's not a hard team, but the defense still has to play tight and not sleep. And the offense need to get some depth rep in, especially having LSU the week after. Hogs are going to win 40-14 over Coastal. I'm not super worried about it.
I'm hoping unbiased. But like, I hope for Arkansas's sake that they just use that game, get some stuff figured out, not, don't sleep on it, get big old swag ready for LSU.
Yeah, I see a lot of fans maybe like, is this the game Austin comes back? Is this the game
I don't think
he puts Allen back in? I don't really know. I agree. I kind of just am like, dude, you just got to let Kelly do it.
Yeah, let it go. Like, I don't know, but Austin Allen's career has been one of the hardest. It's like Andrew Luck in the NFL. It's just like, ooh.
Yeah, he started off so strong at the beginning of last year, and he's just done nothing but decline. But
and partly on him, partly on the team, partly on the coach. It's a mess for him. But yeah, I agree. I think Swag. I gotta stop calling him Swag. I think Kelly should. Swag Kelly should.
Yeah,
stay
Swag Newton, Swag Tebow,
Swag Newton.
Swole Kelly is another one that I really like.
I like Swole Kelly.
Swole
That's
Kelly.
good. Because Swag Kelly just doesn't work.
Yeah, some folks just call him Steamboat. I like that too.
Ooh, he's got all kinds of nicknames.
Real quick before we move back to the East, because I'm real excited to get into. Well, I guess you're going to wait to talk about the big game until later, but I'm excited to get back into those East games. I want to drop two stats real quick that I really like. This was the biggest comeback in school history for Arkansas.
Whoa,
24 points, and Swole Kelly currently has the longest touchdown run of the year at 15 yards.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I just wanted to drop those real quick. Let's
no doubt.
Let's talk about Derek Mason and Coach Boom.
Oh yeah. So much like the UT Kentucky game, we had a team in South Carolina in this game that was, has a stake in the East, is trying to get bowl eligible, and still has a lot to play for with a Vandy team who has just had a brutal year. You could say rough schedule, you could say didn't become the team they thought they were going to be. Really just not much to lose at this point, just going at it. This was just a QB show, man. Jake Bentley and Kyle Shermer both in different ways. I mean, they both can spread the ball around. We've seen that and make plays, but man, it was fun to watch these two guys duke it out. Jake Bentley surprisingly found his legs in this game, or maybe just Vandy couldn't find him, as he ran for a career high, I believe his first 2 rushing touchdowns and 47 yards on 6 carries. Shermer, as we've seen him do before, did most of his damage through the air. Dude threw the ball almost 50 times in this game. Completed 27 passes for 333 yards and 4 TDs and a pick. That's his best performance of the year thus far. Yet again, Vandy just airing it out, not really getting a whole lot from the run game. Shermer nearly doubled Jake Bentley's air yards, but A.J. Turner got the ground going with 121 yards and a score despite some struggles this year for the Gamecocks on the ground. And I really think that was the difference. It just allowed Carolina to kind of get a little bit of a lead early and just keep it and stay in the driver's seat and control the clock. 2 Vandy players in this game, just something to note, ejected for targeting. It was just, I get it. It's a gut battle, just like Tennessee, Kentucky. It's that game was a little chippy. This game was a little chippy, and it's tough break for those guys. But I mean, both those hits were clear targeting. I'm glad they're cracking down on this every way they can, and definitely a big blow for Vandy, who had 10 penalties for 100 yards on the day in this one.
Yeah, and that's weird. Look, because it's weird for them to play so undisciplined to me.
I agree.
The thing about Derek Mason coach teams, you can't always go into them expecting like stellar play. You can't go into them expecting just like lights out, but you don't expect them to make mistakes.
Right.
If they're anything, they're disciplined, and that's a lot of penalties for a lot of yards. And like you said, those 2 targeting penalties.
Both those guys ejected.
Yeah, it's just shooting yourself in the foot, and it's weird for a Derek Mason team.
I completely agree. That was why I was just surprised. To me, that becomes part of the difference. I mean, but it's just like in these games, when you're at this point in the season, you're frustrated. You haven't won in the conference yet, and your emotions just kind of take control, or you just get a little sloppy. I mean, yeah, it was tough for the Doors, but both good calls by the officiating crew, in my opinion. But yeah, another tough loss for Vandy, a big win for South Carolina, in just a back and forth battle that I felt like they were kind of relatively in control of, able to hold off Vandy's comeback streaks pretty well. South Carolina ends up getting the win after Vandy cannot convert on 4th down and becomes bowl eligible in this one.
Yeah.
For the 2nd year in a row.
There you go. That's, yeah, well, I wanted so bad for South Carolina not to be good. But, like, they're against all odds, like, a Will Muschamp coached offense is scoring points. And, like, I don't know. They look a lot better than I gave them credit for. So I got to eat crow for the second time in this show. They're a solid team.
Yeah,
they're playing super well.
South Carolina, as I've said, keeping themselves alive in the East, as fate would have it, is playing Georgia next week in Athens. The Dogs are now ranked number 2. This is a huge game. To me, this is like, I know Georgia, Florida has the hype, it has the history, it has, everything, but in terms of just where teams are right now, this game is insanely important for both of these teams. And like you said, I mean, South Carolina's kind of on fire. Right now, they've lost 2 games in the conference. Georgia is undefeated, and a tiebreaker over Georgia, if they win this one, could really come in handy down the road if they manage to pull this one out. As I've said in other games, I think the Georgia team that we've seen should win this one. I'm calling them 34-21. But I think South Carolina is going to have a lot more fight than Florida put up this past week, given that they have so much to play for this season and are coming off a pretty big, close win.
Yeah, I agree with you. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Georgia still has Kentucky to play also, right?
Yeah, they play Kentucky, and they have to play. Yeah, that's really interesting,
yeah,
too.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that it lined up that they have to play the only 2 teams in the East that can really give them a run. They have to play right at the very end, coupled with Auburn.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just about to say.
They're really going through their obviously they already played Notre Dame and beat them, but they're going through their toughest conference stretch here at the end.
Yeah, I mean, and they're all back-to-back, and then it's Georgia Tech. So it's like South Carolina, Auburn, Kentucky, Georgia Tech. South Carolina and Kentucky are at home, and then they're on the road in Atlanta at Georgia Tech to end the season. And then, of course, that game in Auburn on November 11th. So, yeah, I mean, if they win out, these are 4 huge games, and if they win out, then SEC Championship's going to be a good one.
Yeah, but this game in a vacuum, this Georgia-South Carolina game, I agree with you. Georgia's got this one. I don't think that South Carolina's going to score as many points as you think. Georgia's defense is astoundingly good, and I don't know if South Carolina's offense could really get it done against that defense, but it remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, always being a little too conservative.
Yeah.
But I just, I've seen, and granted, Spurrier's not there anymore, and Muschamp has definitely been a little more inconsistent, but I just seen them get punched in the mouth by South Carolina so many times. And this team, they continue to prove to me week in and week out that they're good, but I'll still be conservative to the end, I guess. But anyway, if you want to kick it back over to the West, keep it rolling.
Sure. Let's talk about all right. Let's do the Mississippi State Texas A&M game.
Yeah, what a game!
This was a bad home loss for Texas A&M.
Seriously,
big time. Kevin Sumlin has just been kind of riding that line. Ever since that Arkansas game, it's like, oh, he's definitely gone. Oh, maybe I don't know. He's kind of good again. Oh, he's definitely gone. Oh, I don't know. They're playing pretty good right now. Oh, he's definitely gone. And
I called this as a 1-point game last week. I was like, this should be super close.
Well, I mean, you had every right to call it that way.
It's just
the way that A&M was kind of playing in that stretch right before this game.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, oh, they're gonna kind of. I mean, it's at Kyle Field. It's a hard place to play.
Right.
It's gonna kind of fall that way, but yeah, that just wasn't the case. Mullen and Grantham had this Mississippi State team totally prepared.
Dude,
they went into
Grantham he's in his spot.
They went into
this is where he needs to be.
Yeah, they went into a rough road environment, and they just totally exceeded expectations. The Aggie defense had no answer for Nick Fitzgerald, which very few defenses have. 141 yards in the air for Nick, another 105 on the ground, 3 scores, just eating it up. On the Texas A&M side, both Nick Starkel and Kellen Mond played at quarterback for Texas A&M in this game, and neither were good. They both went, I think, 8-15, or I think Kellen Mond went 8-14. It just wasn't really what you needed. The Bulldog defense really had Texas A&M's number on the ground, 96 yards on the ground for the Aggies.
I still stand by the fact that they go up against Nick in practice, Nick Fitzgerald every week. They know how that game is played. They're just ready for these mobile quarterbacks. I mean, they shut down Steven Johnson. They did the same thing to Kellen Mond. They know how to do it,
Yeah, they do. You said Todd Grantham has kind of found his place there. He's got the personnel that just fit his style of play.
No kidding,
there.
exactly.
And you make a great point about them seeing that kind of mobile quarterback in practice every week, and they're seeing, one of the best mobile quarterbacks in the country right now, every week. So you're absolutely right. Mississippi State jumps up to a 14-0 lead at halftime after Texas A&M couldn't score once in the first half. In the second half, the Bulldogs went for the jugular and got the win after scoring 21 more. Next week, the Aggies have to play Auburn. And fresh off a bye, it's going to be interesting to see if Auburn can keep their offense burning. The Aggie secondary has been playing pretty well, at least until this game. But they need to be perfect to get past an Auburn offense that can really rack up yards in the air.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Auburn over Texas A&M, 36-19. After the way the Aggies played this week, I don't think it'll be close.
Yeah, this is kind of a comparable. It's sort of like South Carolina on the come up to face Georgia. A&M looking shaky going into Auburn. I agree that we might see some similar games here. I agree with you. I think that Auburn, no reason they shouldn't win this game.
And for Mississippi State, they get to play UMass this week in Starkville, and they ought to take care of business.
God, UMass just getting the bad draw.
Right. Which, by the way, will leave the Bulldogs at 7-2 before they head into the meat grinder to play Alabama.
Ooh, I'm very, very interested in that game.
So you're getting... Now, I know we still have Alabama LSU before this, but you're getting presumably an undefeated Alabama going up against a presumably 7-2 Mississippi State. That's going to be a good one.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think... that gave me these chills. That gives me chills. I'm excited about that one.
All right, well, let's switch it back over to the East.
All right, well, we got one more in the East, a game that, as a fan, I was thrilled about. Georgia, now number 2, number 3 going into this game, just routed Florida 42-7. They thumped them, as they say.
I mean, for lack of a better term, they just kind of handed Florida their own ass. so bad that they had to fire the coach.
This one got out of hand fast. Georgia scored 21 points in the first quarter on 3 consecutive drives while forcing Florida into 2 punts and an interception by Dominic Sanders. Georgia's scoring started with a 6-yard touchdown run by Nick Chubb that was set up by a 39-yard catch and run by DeAndre Swift, one of only 2 Georgia receivers with receptions on the day. Swift going 3 for 84, and Javon Wims grabbing a score on just a gorgeous 17-yard touchdown catch in man coverage. And that was it. Those were the only catches. That was the only completions for Jake Fromm, who threw 7 passes for 101 yards, a touchdown, and a pick.
Oh, I can never get enough of that stat. I'm sorry. That is hilarious, man. That's like I don't even think I've ever seen anything like that. Like, really. Kirby Smart was so confident in his run game. He was just like, I'm not even going to let you. I'm not even going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm just hand the ball to the running backs and just don't fumble.
It's like, oh, you guys have a good secondary? Well, we're just going to take them out of the game completely.
Yeah, it's like we're just not even going to give your secondary the option to even make plays.
Yeah, just unbelievable to carry that stat forward. From 7 passes and 4 completions for 101 yards. He had more yards and more touchdowns on 7 attempts than Malik Zaire and Felipe Franks had combined on 25, with 10 completions for 66 yards and a pick between the two of them.
I can't get enough. I just can't get enough. I'm sorry.
No,
I love the stats. I love the stat line in this game. It's so funny. It just reads like a comedy.
It really was. I mean, yeah, it was just
or a tragedy, I guess, depending on what colors you wear.
That's true. But yeah, it was crazy. Florida turned the ball over on downs inside the 25 twice in this game, which I have not seen happen before, personally. Georgia put up 42 unanswered points in this one. Shout out to the Georgia secondary. headlined by Dominic Sanders, who had the pick, and Malcolm Parrish, who has been back and great since coming back from injury. They just shut down Tyree Cleveland and the Florida receivers in this game. I know Goolsby had a weird offensive pass interference call, and then fingertips just dropped a touchdown pass. But other than that, I mean, this team just continues to impress me at how good Georgia is. That you can get completions against them, but they're going to wrap up. They're going to drop you behind the first down marker any chance they get, and just clean up plays. It's very impressive. Also, just want to point out in last year's version of this game, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, guess how many yards they combined for?
Not as many as this game.
22.
Oh, so way less than this game.
On 12 carries.
Like hundreds of yards less.
Yeah. That's with Jacob Eason throwing the ball 33 times, as I said. This year, with Fromm 7, the two backs combined for 214 on just 19 carries and 3 touchdowns.
God, Kirby got that offseason juice or something, man.
I don't know
what y'all are doing. I don't know what y'all's workout routine is or what. I don't know what film y'all are watching, but like that is just night and day.
I think a lot of that has to do with Christian Payne, fullback, just stepping up, throwing some major blocks for these running backs. And, I mean, the blocking's just been great. They're running hard. I mean, Sony Michel, it's like every time he gets the ball, he might score.
Oh, hey, real quick, want to point out, Jim Chaney's the offensive coordinator of this team.
Yeah, Jim Chaney.
This is Jim draw play on the first 3 downs Chaney. We're talking about here. This is Jim play action bootleg Chaney all day. We're talking about here.
Oh man, I saw so many of those.
These Georgia offensive players are so good.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking Jim Chaney's offensive play calling and they're scoring 42 points.
Well, the boot that you're talking about is gone. I mean, Jacob Eason was doing that over and over again last year and just not accurate, getting hit.
I'm telling you, Jim Chaney will beat that bootleg to death. He will strap you down and beat you over the head with that bootleg play action pass until you can't take it anymore.
It's certainly
Jim Chaney being the former offensive coordinator at Arkansas, just in case anyone didn't realize.
Maybe it's the move up to the booth, man. Maybe he's just getting a bird's eye view and like, maybe that's not working. Maybe we should actually dial up some good plays.
I think it's because Georgia has a bunch of really amazing players on offense.
They're so much speed, so much. I mean, hard.
Every
runs.
single one of them. The offensive line is incredible. Obviously, Jake Fromm is incredible. They have depth. All their skill players are incredible. It's just the perfect potion of points.
Yeah, it certainly was exciting. Just Sony, 74-yard score, and then in the first half, and then a 45-yard score in the second half. I mean, that's ridiculous. Moving over to the Georgia defense, who just punished Felipe Franks on the day. 5 sacks for the young quarterback, including a pick and 2 fumbles, one of which resulted in a scoop and score. Jake Fromm didn't get hit once in this game, and that speaks volumes, like you said, to what it's Pittman, right?
Yeah, also former offensive line coach at Arkansas.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, came from Arkansas, and
Jim Chaney brought him with him.
Hey, they seem to. Maybe it's a Grantham thing. Grantham moves on; he's great. They come in, and they're great at what they're doing. So, great to see that. Again, it wasn't like Fromm was dropping back a lot. But regardless, Dogs didn't return the ball over despite his pick to open the second half. But they still managed the defense. It's just like, even if mistakes happen, it's good to see the defense bailing them out. I mean, after that pick, the defense managed to turn the ball over on downs. So with Florida knocking on the door. So anyway, I'd like to point out, just fun fact I talked about last week, safety Chauncey Gardner before this game said on Fromm, he's throwing simple passes. I get it. Anybody can throw a slant. And during this game, Chauncey Gardner got absolutely lit up on, guess what? A slant route. DeAndre Swift grabbed the ball and just mowed him over in the second quarter. And now I want to clarify, Gardner was a little shaken up on the play. Absolutely nobody likes to see anybody get hurt on the field in this game or any game, and it's tough to watch anyone get shaken up and have to leave a game for any reason, for any amount of time. But this, to me, is just another reason, especially in this conference and in this sport, talking trash doesn't help you out. It's not going to help. It's not going to do anything for you.
Especially on the fact that it was the route that he was talking trash on.
And he got rocked.
And he got rocked, and it was one of the only times that they threw the ball.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even like they were throwing it on him all day. They only had to do it like once or twice, and we're like, yeah, y'all can't defend this at all.
And not to mention by a freshman, DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, who's not playing like a freshman?
No, that's for sure. He's a monster. Anyway, enough of me basically celebrating throughout this. Malik Zaire provided the Gators with their only life on offense in this game, ultimately leading the Gators to score on a 9-play, 71-yard drive late in the fourth quarter. I'm sure Kirby was not happy about that. Keeping Florida's 368-game scoring streak alive, the most in college football.
Which is so amazing. Like,
that's baffling.
Given like the offenses that they've fielded the past few years, it's like, how is that even possible?
That they've managed to do that between Tebow and now is shocking.
Yes.
But anyway, it makes me wonder if Malik Zaire is going to get some more playing time in the next few games, which really just makes me wonder what the Gators are going to do at all across the board after this one. After we've talked about it, we've highlighted it, Jim McElwain is gone. The controversy, the lack of discipline, the team's inconsistency. I'm just, like I said, they made it in a arguably a very weak East to the SEC championship game, like you said, twice. And but I'm just starting to think, he falls into the Butch Jones category for me. I mean, I think he started with a lot of talent, and now he's kind of in a weird spot. McElwain went 22-12 in 3 seasons, leading the Gators, like I said. They had that game against Alabama last year where they just got throttled. Defensive coordinator Randy Shannon, as we mentioned, takes over as interim head coach, a guy with head coaching experience in Florida as well, after serving as Miami's head coach from 2007 to 2010. We'll see how things shake out with Shannon, but Florida, to reiterate, has officially kicked off what is sure to be a very long list of SEC coaches moving on in 2017.
Yeah, and McElwain starting out his career at Florida after coming over from Colorado State. He was a great coach at Colorado State, fielded a great team, and I would love to sit here and say that I had the wherewithal to go, this is a weird fit back when it happened, because at the time I was like, this is a great hire.
Yeah.
Like, Florida's doing a great job.
High on Butch as well.
Yeah, I was like, good job, Florida. Like, that he's a good mid-major coach. He's going to make a lot of noise. He can recruit. Like, It's a good job. I mean, obviously it didn't work out. And the same can be said about any of the coaches that are on the roundtable right now in this conference. They all look like good hires. But the truth is, coaching hires are a crapshoot, man.
Yeah.
And this one just unfortunately didn't work out for the Gators, which, I mean, decision to fire him midseason aside, his record's 22-12. He won the East and twice. And so, anyways, best of luck to him moving forward. But can't say that I'm not excited about this coaching search.
It's entertaining for sure. One more just thing to note from this game: another humongous blow to Florida as the official loss of star running back Malik Davis for the remainder of the year after a knee injury suffered in Saturday's game. I mean, that just makes a bad situation way worse.
Yeah, it's tough to compound injuries when you already have a coach let go and a blowout loss.
Seriously, suspensions. I mean, Florida, just to speak candidly about this, this has got to be one of the worst years in terms of just bad thing after bad thing after bad thing happening over and over again. I mean, suspensions, the coaching thing, injuries. It's just crazy.
Yeah, they've had a few good wins in there. I mean, obviously beat a semi-talented Vandy team at home. They squeaked out that win against Kentucky, who we know is good.
They beat Tennessee last second.
They got Tennessee. The Tennessee win on the Hail Mary.
Yep.
But, I mean, that's not really enough, I guess.
Yeah, well, the Gators travel to Columbia to take on the Missouri Tigers next week. I'm going to say, just as a product of everything, I don't think Florida wins this game. I'll be pretty surprised if they win. I'm going to say Missouri keeps lighting it up on offense and wins 31-17. The only way I see the Gators having a chance is if Zaire plays. And maybe that's just because he put up some good numbers against, Georgia's, I would assume, backups at that point. But, I mean, maybe he's going to flip the switch. He's got way more experience than Franks does. I just think they should start him, personally.
Boy, do I regret saying that if Florida loses this game, I'm going to quit the show. I didn't know all this was going to happen.
Yeah, right.
I take it back.
Well, on the other side, Georgia heads home to host the South Carolina team that we mentioned is 6-2 and second in the SEC East after winning 3 straight against Arkansas, UT, and Vandy. There's another game Georgia should win, like I've said over and over, 34-21, but I refuse to sleep on any SEC teams from here on out, and that firmly includes the Gamecocks.
Yeah, you can't sleep on it. I know it's silly. I mean, Georgia is so good, and I'm always going to be confident in Georgia. I said that they were the best team in the country earlier on this show, and I stand by that. But you're right. I mean, anything can happen. TCU lost to Iowa State. They went in there thinking they were going to just win.
No doubt, yeah. I mean, I feel like you would say something similar about that game, like, well, Iowa State's playing pretty well, but TCU's going to win it, and then, well, there you go.
Yep. Well, speaking briefly about Missouri, let's talk about them and their game. Luckily for me, the 3 most exciting teams in the West decided to take the week off. So I have the distinct pleasure of telling you all about the burner that was Missouri-UConn.
That first road win.
Yeah, hey, you called it last week, didn't you?
Yeah.
All right, well, Missouri rolls into Connecticut and beats the Huskies 52-12. I don't know what to say. Missouri just came in and demolished UConn. That's all that happened.
Yeah, they just did it.
They did it. UConn's defense looked terrible. 408 yards in the air from Missouri, 175 yards on the ground in the Missouri rushing. Look. If you're a defense that's giving up almost 200 yards on the ground to Mizzou, you're a bad defense. Straight up. Missouri's running game has been nothing this year.
No.
And so it's good to see him get it going, but that's just a bad defensive effort. Drew Lock was scary accurate in this game. He was 31 of 37. That's 84%, by the way. Passing. 5 touchdowns, no picks.
That's ridiculous.
But, I guess that is what happens when you play into the secondary equivalent of a throw pillow. Missouri was crazy undisciplined in this game, actually. They committed 12 penalties for 107 yards.
I mean, we've seen that over and over again. It's one of those problems.
Yeah, a lot of those were offensive line struggles, lots of holds, lots of false starts, which it's just undisciplined play from your big guys. The one bright spot for UConn in this game is that they did end up with the safety in the first quarter, which actually opened up scoring in this game.
That kind of made me laugh. I was like, so this is what it's going to be like. Missouri does that. They let the team kind of do something, make them look stupid in the beginning, and then they're like, just kidding.
Missouri-UConn is the perfect game to open with the safety, though, isn't it?
Keep people interested.
But that's about the only bright spot that the Huskies had in this game. And that's about all there is to say about this game in general. Missouri was able to open it up on both sides of the ball, and UConn played like crap. We already talked about this game, but next week, Florida comes to town. And you touched on it a lot. The one thing that I wanted to just kind of briefly mention is... don't discount the moral blow of firing a coach midseason.
Yeah.
You said it. You said it. You think Missouri's going to win this game, which on paper is improbable, but I mean, for the administration just to step up and say, this coach isn't right, and to do so in the middle of a season can just really demoralize a locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And expect that to play a little bit of a factor. I wouldn't wait up for a victory if you're a Mizzou fan, honestly, in my opinion. I'm sorry, Mitch. There's still a huge talent disparity in this game. I'm gonna take Florida. Sans Malik Davis, sans Jim McElwain. I'm still gonna take Florida. And I'm gonna take them on kind of a big margin. I'm gonna take them 28-17.
Wow. Okay.
I think they'll be able to move the ball on the ground. Still,
I think definitely do that.
I mean, Missouri's run defense is not nothing to write home about, and they're just going to be able to control the clock. They're going to be able to put points on the board, and And I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay. Well, I'm sure Florida's defense is going to be, if they're not totally dismayed, they're going to be mad.
But that's not to say I would love to see Missouri win this game.
Just because be interesting,
Yeah, just because that would just be, that would just kind of be the cap on like what even is this regular season.
Right. Yeah, no joke. Like that's why going into this game, I'm like, I really don't know what to expect. But I'm gonna say, I think I could definitely agree with that. I think I might revise mine to say if Malik Zaire starts, I think they got a shot. If he doesn't, I don't think they do.
I'm with you on that train. I hope they give Zaire the start.
Yeah, I mean he deserves it. I don't know. Dude was a starter. Just let him start.
All right, man, hit us with those rankings and those standings. We'll get out of here.
Let's do it. All right, so we got Bama, number 1, again. Georgia moving up to a scary number 2.
Don't be scared, man. Just ride the roller coaster.
Do you remember when Georgia started the season number 1? That was like the most terrifying thing. It didn't work out. Anyway, I need to
just
get over
ride
it.
the roller coaster, man.
Yeah. Auburn creeping up, number 16, 15 in the coaches. LSU, number 19 in the AP, 20 in the coaches. And Mississippi State, back ranked 21, 22 in the coaches. They got a lot of work to do, a lot to prove.
I'm not surprised that Mississippi State's back.
I think it's deserved. They've been crushing people.
You were totally right when you said earlier this season that was a huge bad luck draw for them to draw Auburn and Georgia right back to back. And I think it's just being proved like week by week that they're a better team than they looked.
I think that it was just impossible for them to prepare for those 2 games because that was basically both those teams, Auburn and Georgia, was the game where they were like, oh yeah, this is what we're good at, by the way. Everyone look.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we've been keeping it a secret. Now we're about to go yard. Just talking about, we've touched on standings in the East and the West. Obviously it's still Alabama and Georgia's first place to lose on each side. You got the sort of the in the background teams, South Carolina and Kentucky are kind of staying up in there, second and third, and same with you got Auburn and LSU sort of staying in the picture. Once again, I think the West looks way stronger than the East, personally, yet again. But it's going to be very interesting, and I think next week's just going to tell us even more.
All right, well, this is the point in the show when we would move on to who took the biggest L, but I did not post that poll this week because it's Florida. Everyone knows it's Florida.
It doesn't get much worse than losing your head coach, and yeah, that's it. Season over.
Truth is, I forgot. All right, let's. No, but really, it would have been Florida. Well, real quick before we kind of say goodbye here, I want to just give a congratulations to you and Mrs. Georgia Peach on the Astros, currently leading the World Series.
Man, last night's game was insane.
It was.
That
incredible.
Was one of the craziest games I've ever watched. Any sport. Astros pulled it out, man.
Baseball can be a tough sport to watch, especially in today's instant gratification world. But this World Series has been really good.
Playoff baseball, I mean, people say whatever they want. I love it all, but people can say whatever they want about regular season, a lot of games, whatever. But playoff baseball is real, and it's so entertaining. Last night was like the epitome of that. Yeah, I mean, the Astros are 1 game away. We'll see if they can keep it up, but they certainly look excited. So, yeah, we will see what happens.
All right, well, after all this craziness, you got any closing thoughts?
I was just thinking about that question that you posed at the beginning of the episode that I couldn't really... It was just an interesting thought. So your top 4 was Georgia, number 1. You said you had Ohio State number 2, right? And then Notre Dame 3. And then
I had Georgia number 1, Ohio State number 2. I had Alabama number 3.
That's right.
And then I had Notre Dame creeping in at number 4.
Yeah, that's a really interesting. I think I'm going to go with, I think I like it ranked just as it is right now. Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and then I could switch out Notre Dame or Wisconsin at this point. I think either one could be the 4th spot, but I'll be interested to see how that holds up. That's a good question.
Without opening up a whole Big Ten West as garbage can of worms, It's just the strength of schedule with Wisconsin. Look, I know they're good, and I know the strength of schedule argument is so worn out, but like it's just the head to head. If you put the resumes of Wisconsin and Notre Dame together, Notre Dame is going to have the edge every time.
So yeah, it's one of those things where if we're talking about who's going to make it to the playoff or who's going to succeed in the playoff, I'd probably take Notre Dame. And I think that you're right about that.
And let me tell you, as much as I love Oklahoma State, as much as I love Miami, teams like that, they just haven't done enough in my mind to break into that realm. I know Miami's undefeated.
But close games.
Close games, a lot of close games. And anyways, yeah, I like to pose that question just raw, just to see what
absolutely. I
people say.
mean, when it comes down to it, that's what it's all about, is what 4 teams end up there. And, we have a chance to see 2 SEC teams end up in there, which could be really exciting.
And like we've been saying all this week, arguably what's much more exciting than watching football this year is just watching all the coaching changes.
Yeah, we have just as much entertainment off the field as we do on it.
Towards the end of the year, we're going to be Ask the Bottle and SEC Coach Cast.
Oh man. But yeah, that's about it for me. I just, it's good to start really thinking about playoffs, and the SEC championship could not be bigger at this point. So we will see what happens.
Well, write to us at askthebottlecast@gmail.com. As always, follow us on Twitter and Instagram @bottlecast. Listen to us on iTunes and SoundCloud, and you already know to go on there and leave us a rating.
No doubt, home cooked meal.
My name is Clint Childers. His name is Mitch Davis, the Georgia Peach.
Thank you all for listening. We will be back next week and can't wait to see what happens in Week 10.
See y'all next week.